This is an IBANEZ S series guitar. It's an S470 QS, and it's one of my favorite guitars. It looks black, but as you can see, it's quilted. I don't know what, maybe maple. I don't know. It's QS quilted. Well, either way, it's got some cool striping on the whole thing. And these S guitars, also prior to that, known as Sabres. There's nothing there. These were 22 frets all the way up until the late 90s, I believe. In the early 2000s, they switched them over to 24 fret. But super lightweight, super comfortable. They play very well. A lot of them have a 0-point bridge on them. This one has a regular low TRS, but it's pretty awesome nonetheless. It was so good, in fact, when I found another one for sale for really cheap. It was a S520. And the condition was pretty rough. That's why it was really cheap. Now, I've rebuilt some guitars. I've rebuilt quite a few. And generally, I have pretty decent outcomes. I mean, you'll see a couple of them here in a couple minutes, but this one, I was unable to save. I knew it was going to be rough to save it, so I tried doing something different with it, and I mean, I fudged the body. Basically, it ended up being like this thin, but then like 20% thinner. So the pickups stuck out really far. The neck stuck up really far, and it just looked, I mean, it looks stupid. It just looks so stupid. And it was a shame. And I was sad about that. I tried. But you can't save them all. Or can you? So this is what I was looking for. Just find another one of these. Because for some reason, when you find something you like, you always look for another one. Just get out 2, just in case. All right, we're gonna put a thumbnail in that. Is that a thumbnail? We're gonna put a I don't know, a fold in that page. So a while back, over the course of about 15 years, I carried around a buddy of mine's guitar with me. It was a pretty rare guitar. I mean, you can still find them here and there, but they're the EX model, the IBANEZ EX. And it was the first guitar that I had, first electric guitar that I played. You know, he was from my second band. And he would leave his Marshall half stack and his Ibanez EX series guitar. It was like an orange tiger stripe guitar with a actually I'll pull up a picture of it. It was like a fade with like tiger striping. I mean, it was a cool looking guitar. It had it didn't have the shark tooth inlays. It had more like the shark fin inlays, more like a Jackson. Yeah, these EX guitars were the very first. They were around for 4 years, from I think it was 89 to 93, I think. And these are Korean built guitars, and what they were nearly to spec the IBANEZ RG Now, up until that time, the RG was built in Japan, and they were looking at, I think it was court, to move their line of RGs to being built in Korea as opposed to Japan, but they didn't want to call them RGs yet. They didn't want to call them RGs until they knew that Korea, that court was going to build a guitar that was worthy of it. You know, they didn't want to, you know, the IBANEZ RG to ship out to, you know, to America, and all of a sudden they're all junk, and all of a sudden everybody just looks at the RG and, you know, stock in that guitar just falls. So the EX stood for experimental, so it was an experimental series guitar, and I moved to Florida, and the guitarist from the old guitarist from my band, he had come down, and he had left that guitar with me, but the neck had been broken. It had fallen off a stand a couple years earlier than that, and I don't know. I guess I carried it around. He had a case and everything with it. I carried it around for 15 years probably, and I was always looking for a new neck for it. Not just because I love the guitar, but, oh no, it was pretty much just because I love the guitar. I mean, I wanted to get the guitar back to him. I wanted to fix it for him, and if he wasn't interested in it, that was fine with me, because I absolutely loved that guitar. Okay, well, there's the body of it. Okay, so that's the EX series, and like I said, the headstock was broken right off of it, and then somebody had like put wood screws into it or something, and it was just like, it was a mess. So much so that I was always on the lookout for a new neck for it. I found one. I ordered it from California or Oregon. I don't know. It was one of the, maybe it was Washington. And it took like 2 months to get to me, because it got on a shipping loop where it would get shipped from the West Coast over to the East Coast, and then something would happen where it would get messed up and it'd get shipped back over to the West Coast. And it was just like, I kept tracking it, and it kept tracking back and forth. It was the weirdest thing. But eventually I got the neck finally, and it had the right graphic on it, but it wasn't the right neck. There we go. See, first of all, notice there's no locking nut on there. It's got a Floyd Rose, but no locking nut. Also, notice it doesn't have the shark or the shark fin inlays, right? So there's a couple of things. Also, what you don't really notice is that the scale length was wrong, so I could never tune it. Try as I may, you tune the strings, and then as soon as you get down down a couple of frets, all of a sudden it was out of tune again. So it was, I ended up, you know, obviously carrying it. This is up in Massachusetts. I moved back down to Florida, carried this guitar with me with the crappy neck. I ended up putting an IBANEZ Geo neck on it for a short stint. I didn't like that one because it had like the headstock was flat, it wasn't tilted back. And eventually I found this blue EX for sale for a couple $100, and it had the exact same neck, it had the identical neck on it. So I bought the guitar just for that neck, just so I could put that neck on the other guitar and finish it correctly. It had the same pickups as this. It's got the EX pickups or I'm sorry, the XH, but these were for experimental humbucker 1, experimental humbucker 2, and experimental single HX1, HX2, HX3. So his guitar was wired right. It was kind of a mess before, but I fixed that. I put the new neck on it, which was the same as the old neck, and it was perfect. That guitar played so well. I mean, I got a hold of my buddy, who he lived in Michigan, Sheboygan, where I came from, and sent him some videos of that guitar complete, a guitar that he hadn't seen in 15 or so years. And that's a guitar that his mom and dad had bought him, when he was a kid, and neither of his parents are around anymore. So it felt good to finish it, and it felt good because I know how good the guitar was. It's such a nice playing guitar, and it was his, and it was cool. So I got in contact with him. I told him, I have your guitar. I've restored it completely. And, you didn't ask me to fix it. You didn't ask me for any of these parts I put on it. But I told him how much I spent on it. And, I was like, if you want to just pay me for what I spent on it and shipping, like, it's your guitar. I just fixed it, and he was more than happy. He paid me on top of what I put into it. He paid me on top of that. So it was, he did it upright. So then I had this body kind of just laying around for like a year or two. I put a Geo neck on it at one point. Now, these are 22 frets, not 24, so you can't just put an RG neck on it. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. So, what also is a 22 fret guitar are the S series guitars, like the one I just had over there. And I had an S520 neck on the guitar that the body was ruined. I mean, it was no good. Everything else on that guitar was fine. Just the body was not repairable. So that guitar the S guitar was from 2002, I think. Or 2006. And this guitar was from 1992. Or 93. 92 and 93. So it was the right scale length. The bolt patterns didn't fit. The neck contour didn't work with the body, but it was the correct width, it was the correct length, and so we now have an S series neck of an S520. That's funny, it's an S520EX, that's very fitting. I didn't put that on there either. It's the first time I've noticed that, actually. So it's an EX guitar and it's an SEX, so it's a sex guitar. All the electronics has the original pickups that I had, and it was a complete guitar, just the body was sitting in there. I didn't have a neck for it. So what I did was I contoured the neck and the body I bolted it. Well, I wood glued, bolted, and then filled in the bolt holes, and then just kind of shaped the wood so it'd be a nice, comfortable, so it looked like it belonged, basically. So that's what I did with the neck on this S series guitar. So this is now an SEX EX. So it's a sex. Fun fact with these pickups. So after 1993, when the EX line was discontinued, it was discontinued because they brought the RG over they started producing them in Korea. And RGs have a slightly sharper. Oh, this one's got a broken string. Slightly sharper. It's the same shape, but notice the edges are a little bit sharper, where these are a little more rounded. I mean, essentially, looks like the body's a little, I don't know, they're the same size. But this is just a little more rounded. Maybe it's a little bit smaller. I can't, it's hard to tell. The horn's a little bit thicker on these here. But another thing that they discontinued were the experimental pickups that were in the experimental series guitar. These experimental humbuckers and experimental singles were discontinued, and what started, now these were, I believe these were, they're either a DiMarzio like copy, or they were developed by DiMarzio. I don't know. I thought they were developed by DiMarzio for Ibanez, but I'm not positive. Kind of like the Floyd Roses. The Ibanez Floyd Roses were designed by Floyd Rose for Ibanez, like the Edge series and all that. But in '94, the Quantum pickups started to. That's when they started their reign, which you can still, they still put Quantums in their guitars today. So these were the predecessors to the Quantum pickups, which look identical. Super hot pickups, actually. So yeah, I committed the S neck onto the EX guitar, which is funny. The mismatch is a little silly because the EX series guitars are a little more rare now, and they're going up in price. And the S model guitars aren't rare, but they're on the mid-range, higher mid-range tier of the Ibanez line. And you know, these are older and these are newer relatively. And to combine them is kind of a funny marriage, but the result, and I love the beast inlays here, but the result is just a stellar guitar. I mean, it's super comfortable. It holds tune, it sounds great, plays great. It's a reliable beast. I added the 3 lines there, so I just thought it looked pretty good. But yeah, so that's what I did with the neck to that guitar. That guitar did not go to waste at all. So what I do with the rest of that, now I had those solid bar pickups. What were those? They were they reinvented them in later years. I can't remember, but they were just like the black bar pickups, and I can't for life. I won't remember until after I'm done with this. Also, that guitar had a 0 point a 0 point bridge on it, which is also an Ibanez kind of original. I think they're discontinued, but they put them on guitars here and there throughout the years, but for a long time, when they were first invented, you could only find them on the S guitars. Now this guitar here is it was a switched guitar. I called it a groove guitar. And what this was a open cavity guitar. This section was open. This section was not. That would have had a pick guard here, had 2 humbuckers, and maybe a single, I don't remember. And it had a regular standard trim. And this company was around for a couple of years in the mid 2000s. It's actually got a little wear to it because I played the crap out of this for a while. And these were known for being not constructed, but actually formed out of, I think it was called Vibracell. And what it is basically is it's a foam that they inject into a molding, and that's what this is. It's one solid piece of this foam that's called Vibracell that could be essentially tuned by shaping the body a certain way. You know, who knows? That goes into the whole tone wood thing / sustain thing. Like, who knows? But neither here nor there. This was for sale for very cheap because it was, when I got it, it didn't have any electronics. It didn't have a pickup. It didn't have a bridge. It didn't have the pick guard, the plastic piece that goes in here. And these things were discontinued so long ago that finding a pick guard for this was impossible. There was no finding one. I tried making a couple of them based on pictures I saw, based on the lines that were contoured in there. And there was no finding a pick guard. And I wanted to play this guitar. I had already put a couple of pickups in it and a bridge. I just screwed the pickups right into it because I just wanted to try it, and it plays. It played great. It plays amazing. It's a great guitar. I love this. The inset input. It's freaking cool. Anywho, so this didn't have any parts to it. It was just a body. It was like, it's like coming across a barn find Shelby Cobra shell. It's just like this aluminum shell, but you don't even know what kind of motor is supposed to go in it. You have no idea what, you find like a Pantera shell or something. You don't know what kind of motor goes in it. You can see where a motor went, but as far as what goes in it, you don't know. It may as well be a spacecraft. So, you might drop a 350 in it, a Chevy 350 in it. Because it's a V8 and it's got power. And, it's not the right thing to do from a purist perspective. But if you don't even know what that is, like what a purist perspective is, anything that'll make it work, right? So that's kind of what I did. I took the S520EX body and I took one of the pickups out of it and I dropped the pickup in here. I took the 0-point bridge, which operates off these, instead of having 2 pivot points, it actually has roller bearings, which is pretty cool. It's unique, kind of like this guitar. It had this big giant pocket here that was just a wide open thing, so I took a a 1x6 piece of wood, and I cut it and dropped it in here. So it's about this rectangle here. And then I snugged the pickup to that, and I mocked everything up. I set the height for the pickup, and then I shaped it using Bondo. I shaped it to where I thought it would look cool to kind of finish the line. Like this line seemed like it actually went straight back here, and it came across. You can probably still see kind of like the indentation here. But when I filled that in, I decided to make the line come across over here down into this pocket. And the idea was, after I had done this part first, but it looked really stupid having this pickup just like there. It didn't fit right with the pickup, you know, frame or anything. So I decided to make the pickup, I deleted it basically. It's in there and it works, obviously. It had a switch here, and it had another knob here. I deleted those, obviously. I just I just have one single volume for the one pickup that you can't tell there's a pickup in there unless you, I mean, you can see the hump, but you can't see an actual pickup. It just looks like it flows right with the guitar. So that's how this guitar came to be. It's kind of a project that I just thought it was the coolest looking guitar, and tried to think of how I can make it look good. Because every pickguard I made for it just looked stupid. Nothing worked until I did this, and I think it worked. I think it worked great. It's truly a one of a kind. Same as my IBANEZ SEX there. One of a kind. But at least that one looks like, you know, it looks like an RG, or it looks like, you know, it could be something else. This one doesn't look like anything I've ever seen before. If this were a spaceship, which, if you just saw a picture of it without a neck on it, without any like idea of how big it is, you know, like you might think it could be a spaceship, and you wouldn't know which way is forward and which way is backwards. I guess if I were to guess, I would say probably this is a forward, because it's got those little scoops. But anyway, so this is the pickup, the volume knob, and the 0-point bridge, as well as the locking nut off of the IBANEZ 520EX, the S series. So the neck got used to complete that guitar, which is awesome. And then the electronics and the bridge and everything else got taken off of that body, so it was just a blank piece of wood at this point, and used to build this guitar that had no electronics. And with a little ingenuity with both of them, I formed the back of this to fit, and it's a great playing guitar. I think it looks great, it plays great. And I've made this one into something that nobody's ever seen before. I don't really have a name for it, but I painted it this chameleon, kind of a blue to a purple, green tinted, I don't know. But so that's how I recommend properly recycling a guitar. You find, you know, you remove the piece that's broken, that can't be, that's beyond repair, and everything else that you can use off of it, use it. That guitar, it's unfortunate that it went down. I liked it a lot. Obviously, I have my original S there. The other one I knew, you know, was in pretty rough shape, but that was kind of the idea. The price and the fact it was in rough shape is meaning I could use that guitar. I could take that anywhere and not have to worry about it, you know, banging it around or anything like that. Like this SCX guitar I built, like that one. I mean, this one is not by any means pristine, you know, but it's a sweet guitar. But it's you know, it's not perfect, not even close, and it's not all original, but it works great. But this is one I can carry around, I can take anywhere, and you know, it's not that big of a deal if it gets dinged up or banged around, you know, because the actual monetary value in that one's not really there. Whereas this one, on the other hand, this one I would tear up if it got a big old ding in it, because I think it's such a beautiful guitar. I mean, all through and through, it's nearly flawless, and in every way. And this is looks like this one's an 03, so this one's nearly 20 years old, and you know, factory fresh. So this is not one I want to carry around with me and get banged around. I'm going to show you one more example of a proper recycling of guitar parts. And now my main guitar, and this one does get beaten quite a bit. This is my Jem Jr. This guitar is my most played guitar. It's you know what? There's only been a couple of guitars that have absolutely changed the way I play. This guitar is responsible for the biggest jump in my guitar playing, because when I got this guitar, I traded a car for it that I had gotten from doing some work for a friend of mine who offered that car in trade for some labor, and I said sure, absolutely, and ended up trading it for this thing. And when I got this guitar, the first Steve Vai guitar I ever saw was my hometown of Sheboygan had this music store called Beck's. Beck Brothers Music, I think, something like that. And he had this green and yellow and pink fluorescent Jem at the time, and I'd never known what this was. 97, probably 98, and I didn't know what a Steve Vai guitar was. I like faintly knew who Steve Vai was. I didn't know about his signature guitar, and I was purchasing a drum set there, making payments, and I remember I saw that guitar and I picked it up and started playing it, and it just played so good. And I was like, man, I think I'm gonna have to buy this guitar. This thing's amazing. Like, I have to set up payments or something. And I looked at the price tag and my jaw hit the floor. I couldn't believe. I don't remember what the price tag was, but it was that of which, like, I didn't know why. Like, I thought it was going to be a cheap guitar because it looked like a toy. I mean, it was like all these fluorescent colors. It was just like, you know, like, it didn't look like an adult guitar. It didn't look like what you usually see in expensive guitar is when you see like a Fender Stratocaster, a Gibson Les Paul, like those are crazy prices. And here's this like goofy toy looking guitar with a handle in it, the monkey grip for the same. Like I was just in awe. I was like, well, forget that. Like there's no way in hell I'm ever gonna afford one of those. And that was a real gem. I mean, it's a real gem. It's just a Gem Junior. But I remember when I got this, there was just something about it that I played it so much. I would go to work and I would just think about getting out of work so I could play this thing. And after, a roommate of mine had gotten a real gem. It was a beautiful, beautiful gem. And I was in talks with another guy on Facebook Marketplace who had one for sale. And I tried everything to trade for it. I mean, I offered some guitars that were worth more than that gem was worth that he had. I mean, I offered my Moser. Was one of the guitars I offered. This one here. And that's worth a lot more than that gem was worth anyway. I also have my Gunslinger. That was worth more. I offered that. It just didn't. No, it's cool. He had plenty of guitars. He wasn't really looking for anything else. He just wanted to sell it. I'm like, yeah, try. But in the meantime, I got this plate is off of a real gem. I actually had to alter it because it's slightly different size, so I had to make it a little bit different. But I put EMGs, active pickups, in this, as well as an original Floyd Rose with a big block. And all the electronics came with the EMG set. So like this was all completely redone with EMGs and a real Floyd Rose. So this was upgraded to beyond a regular gem. So I mean it's a Gem Junior, but this plays every bit as good as any gem on the market as far as I'm concerned. Not saying I'm still not in the market for a gem, because I am. But until then, I'm in no rush. This thing's awesome. And if you're wondering about the Camaro, my best friend, who's no longer with us anymore, had a Camaro that I would work on with him, and he sold it, and we had all the badgings off of it because he was getting it painted, and he never put it back on. So that's a rest in peace, Robert. Love you, man. So I figured I'd put that on my number one guitar, It's cool. So what I did with all the electronics that were out of that, now, remember I mentioned the Quantums. Well, these are the predecessors of the Quantums, right? Well, the Gem Junior comes from the factory with Quantums in it. Comes with white ones. See, so what this is a 1998 Ibanez RG 270 EX. I'm sorry, DX. Yeah, DX. RG 270 DX. And these came with whatever those pickups were. I can't remember the name of them right now. It came with the stock, like kind of the cheaper Power Sound. That's what they were. The Ibanez Power Sound pickups, which were like unbranded, kind of like just a cheap version of the DiMarzios. Not of the DiMarzios. They're like the regular, almost Seymour Duncan looking ones. They just had the regular bullets in them, not the adjustables. It also had a licensed Floyd Rose. It was just a chrome one, and it had like, it didn't have locking tuner or locking nuts. It had like the ones you slide in through, like the backs of these and sides up. So what I did was I took this 270 DX, and I took the plastic pick guard off of the Gem that had all the electronics in it, and I just took all those electronics and I put them in here. So this has quantum pickups out of the Gem Jr. It's got the Ibanez standard tremolo out of, this is what the Gem Jr. came with, and the pickups or the electronics are out of that Gem Jr. So I massively upgraded this RG into a legitimate, it's pretty much, it's the Gem soul, it's a Gem Electronics and a beautiful playing guitar, and it just supercharged it. You know, it's a nice guitar to begin with. It wasn't bad with the original stuff in it, but it's just that much better now. And so, you know, that wasn't necessarily recycling the guitar, because obviously the Gem's still being used in good health, but it's recycling the parts. So sometimes when you upgrade your guitar and you keep those parts around, you can look in, you can look around you and look at what guitars you have hanging on the wall, and think to yourself, well, can I use the parts that I'm upgrading off of this guitar? Are they better than any parts that are on any of the other guitars? And that's in this case, this 98 RG had some older, outdated, and kind of cheap parts to begin with. So I gave it a makeover. Now, for a couple of years, I left the pickups and the electronics and all that in the original Gem Jr. pickguard. So if I ever wanted to take those EMGs out and just turn it back to stock, if I was selling it or something, I could do that. And it became apparent to me last year that that guitar isn't going anywhere. You know, it's one of those things where it's worth more than it's worth. Oh, tuner right there. What I mean by worth more than it's worth, meaning monetarily, that guitar stock without the upgrades in it, if I were to put these parts back in that guitar, it holds its resale value pretty well. They're $500 new. And if you could find one for less than $400, I mean, you found a deal, because you don't see them up for sale very often. And when you do, They're usually around $400, $450, which isn't too far off from the new category. What is that? U C G B V U C V. I don't know what that means. So for $500, or $400 to $500, that guitar is worth far more than that, just in sentimental value and just the time played on top of the upgrades. I mean, it's got, you know, what, $300 worth of pickups in it, and a $300 bridge with a $30 big block, and I mean, it's... You know, but that also upped the ante on this one too. I mean, by this one having its parts, if I do part ways with this one, you know, these guitars stock with the regular pickups and the regular bridge, you know, you can find them between $150 to $250 roughly. The DX models a little higher up there because the shark tooth inlays. Because you find one without the shark tooth inlays for $150 to $250. These are, you know, between $200 and $300, somewhere thereabouts. But with the quantum pickups and the IBANEZ standard bridge and the electronics, like, one would argue that it'd be worth more than that. And you can try and get more than that for it, but it's likely that that's not going to make a difference. I'm probably going to put this up for sale, and I'm going to advertise it for about what I think it's worth, which is, you know, will be slightly above what the average of these go for, because it's got far and above the hardware in it. And when I do that, I usually advertise a second price You know, it's like, if I put this up for $300, let's say, that's the price I would put it up there, and I would specify what the hardware it has in it is. And then I would also, in the next paragraph, give the option for me to put stock parts back in it, and you know, I'll drop the price. And that's how I go about negotiating price on things, because I generally price things the way they should. I price them well. Sometimes I have to move things, and I price them to move them. And not everybody wants the same stuff that everybody else does. The fact that these are factory IBANEZ parts, just upgraded factory IBANEZ parts, makes it, this thing needs to be cleaned, makes it better, I would say. But I understand if somebody doesn't want to do that. I've absolutely mentioned to people, you know, price is negotiable, but you know, as the price goes down, so the parts come out. You know, like that's just the way it is. They're more expensive. And if you don't want those parts, they're not going to force you to, you know, pay more for them if that's not what you want. So I'll put stock stuff back in it, but it's neither here nor there. My point is, just reusing parts, reusing guitars, recycling. That S520 is going to live on forever. Not in one piece. You know, that body, I still have the body. I currently have a Geo neck on it. And I had it wired up with pickups and playing for a little while, but I eventually needed some parts off of it. And you can't really sell a guitar like that. It's pretty, you know, it's a pretty awkward guitar. It's obviously, you know, super thin, you know, super thin, and like with the pickup sticking up out of it, like it just looks not right. So I never put it up for sale, but I had it operational for a while, and then you know, I needed to do some stuff off of it. I had to retrofit it for a regular bridge, because I took the bridge off of it. It had, you know, put it on the groove guitar there. But you know, it's cool to think about the ability to use parts from a broken guitar, a guitar that can't be used. Like, there's a lot of good parts in those guitars. The necks, the jacks, the pots, the switches, the pickups, the buttons, the tuners, you know? There's a lot of, even useless broken guitars have parts that can be used. I have a guitar that, I'm not going to go get it right now, but there's a guitar that, you know, speaking of my buddy Robert, who, this Camaro it came from. I built a, yeah, I'll have to tell this story in more detail. But we were sitting around my house one night, and I'm gonna say it was like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And we were talking about guitars, and I was telling him that, you know, it's the body's whatever, it's the neck. That's the important part. You know, that's really what makes the guitar. And he was kind of stumped by that. He's like, really? I would have thought the opposite. I was like, yeah, dude, the body's anything. I can make a guitar out of this table if I haven't, you know, with this neck. And he's just like, kind of looked at me and said, really? We'll do it. And like, at first, you know, it's like, it sounded like, and like, okay. And there you go. He's put your money where your mouth is. So I took the guitar neck, I placed it up against the old body. I measured out how far down the bridge would have to be, and I mocked it up with on the table. It was like it was a wooden folding TV table, and I mocked it up, drew where they needed to be, drew where the pickup would be. I took it out there and I routed out the where the pickup goes. I put a regular like wraparound bridge on it. I had a on-off switch and a jack going to the one pickup, and screwed the neck into the table, and there you go. It was an electric guitar table. It still had the stands on it, so you could have it sitting there. In fact, there's a video I have of we were discussing what we're gonna be. Oh yeah, so while I was building this, another friend of mine stopped by. He was walking his dog, and like every night he'd stop by, and he would just look at, what are you doing? He's like, he's building a table or building a guitar out of that table. And my buddy's like, yeah, that sounds about right. That was the end of that. And then, you know, we talked about other stuff, and then, you know, he leaves. It was just a funny, like, quick, you know, I was like, yep, that's, carry on, you know, it sounds about what you guys would be doing. And there's a video, I think it was either that night or the night after, where I was shooting the video for another friend of mine, where I'm sitting there with the table, and I'm eating ice cream. And Robert, this wasn't planned, but he comes in the room, and he starts talking to me, and he sits behind me, and I'm looking at my computer, so you can see, like I'm talking to you. There's me, then there's, like, my kitchen was back here, and he sat on one of the chairs on the other side of the thing, so, like, you can see him back here, there's me, and he starts talking to me about what we're doing tonight. And as I'm eating my ice cream, and I kind of answer him, I set my ice cream down and I pick up the table, and I just start playing the table, and he doesn't even, you know, obviously he was there when I played, but he doesn't even bat an eye at it. He just keeps talking to me, and I'm playing, and I set it back down and put my ice cream back on there as if nothing happened. It's cool, man. I'm just playing the table, you know. And it was dorky, but it was fun. But that's another case of just spare parts. You know, I had that neck. I had a neck, you know, I had some pickups. I had a wraparound bridge, and I just built a guitar out of a table. I've got a couple other goofy guitars. That'll be for a later time. But yeah, so you know, if you have a guitar laying around and you're feeling inventive, or if you have two guitars, you know, see if you can make one out of it. You know, see if you can soup up, you know, one of your guitars by putting better parts on it from another one. You know, and that's just the way it goes. I'm not saying take a pristine guitar and desecrate it, because I've had this one for a number of years now, and it is nearly 20 years old, and it is completely stock and completely beautiful. I don't like to change anything that's, you know, I like leaving guitars for the most part original. I'll upgrade pickups maybe, but like, and even bridges sometimes, but I like to leave guitars original. I think guitars are beautiful in their original state. But when they're no longer in their original state, nor do they have the ability to get back to their original state. Or maybe the guitar wasn't really worth a whole lot to begin with, you know, things of that nature. Well, the value's already out of it, you know? That's where the fun is too. The value is more about what you can do with that guitar at that point, you know? It doesn't have to, the guitar doesn't have to die just because it's not in great shape, because something's wrong with it. But it can be transformed at that point. You can have creative, whatever the word is, creative control over what you want done to it, and use your imagination. You know, this thing is a great example. I just think it's, like I said, it's just a very cool, one of a kind spaceship guitar thing that has a long history, but it's a very short history. It's a short history from long ago of what this guitar was. And I learned all about what these vibrocells are all about. And, you know, they're cool. I've got a video on this guitar. It is on this channel. I don't know how to shoot links or any of that stuff. I just started posting videos where I've actually edited. I've done any editing because I just started doing that. Most of my videos are just like this, just straight up, not edited and off the cuff. So, well, all right, all. I hope that was helpful. If you have any, you know, any questions or projects or thoughts about what you can do with any instruments you have laying around for that you don't know what to do with, and you don't want to throw them away, but you don't want to, you know, you don't want to do anything with them. Like, I'll find a use for them, or I'll help you find a use for them. Drums, you know, you can make electronic drums out of acoustic drums now. You can make, you know, I made some pretty interesting snare drums out of a floor tom. I had a 13-inch floor tom that I made into a super deep snare drum. I made a 10-inch birch tom. It was a Tama tom. Into a 10-inch snare drum, but like a deep snare. That one's on my, excuse me, that one's on my page as well. You can check out that video as well. I was sporting a mohawk in that video. All right, cool beans. See you later.